Hello, everyone. My name is Lori Pogue, and I do all things social media for the NCIT. I'm so excited that everyone is here joining us today for our first session in our social media series that we are kicking off. Today, we are going to talk about geotargeting 101. Who's excited? All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I promise today is not going to be, as scary or as technical as it sounds. By the end of this session, you'll understand what it is and why geotargeting matters and how you can use it in your everyday social media work. Let's dive right in. Okay, so our objectives for today, we are going to talk about what geotargeting means and how it works. And then we're going to look at how it makes your social media posts more effective. And finally, we're going to go through how to use it on platforms that you already know and some that you don't. Nothing too complicated. Like I said, today we're not going to get really techy. It's just the basics. All right. All right. So moving on to our next slide. What is geotargeting? All right, so simple definition, geotargeting just means showing content to people who live in a certain place. That's it. Real simple, right? The platforms figure out where people are based on things like their phone or the GPS. When you log in or initially sign up for Facebook or Instagram or X, they ask you your city and state, and they use this information to help you to figure out, who they need to target. And so, as you enter in this information, you are signing yourself up to be targeted through geotargeting as well. Um, so, where it's used: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat, all of your favorite platforms use it, and even some of the news organizations use it as well. Um, the point is, people pay more attention when something feels local. So, geotargeting helps us to talk to the right people instead of talking to everybody at once, simply put. Embracing geotargeting empowers organizations to deliver relevant, location specific content and to stay competitive. Um, One of the things that I often think about is a lot of times when I land in an airport and I am hopping in my Uber to head to my hotel. I'm just scrolling on Facebook, seeing maybe what I missed out on when I was on a flight. I immediately start getting promotions and ads for things to do in the area that I'm in, or restaurants or museums to visit. And some of you may wonder, well, how does my phone know that I'm not home or I'm somewhere else? And it's through geo targeting. So that's the cool thing about that. It kind of follows you wherever you go in like a non-stalkerish way. We'll move over to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about the stats here. These numbers basically say people respond better to content that feels like it's meant for them. Approximately 84% of consumers take action based on location based marketing messages. Location based audiences can achieve a 7.5% average click through rate versus a 0.9% for average Facebook ads. So, when you're looking at things, that's a major increase on your click through rate. And click through is just you actually clicking on something or you wanting to read more. Geo-targeting campaigns in one industry study drove up to 30% higher conversion rates compared to non-targeted campaigns. So that means a lot for your campaigns that you're running if you have the ability to geo-target. When folks see their city or their state mentioned, they're more likely to click on and engage and take action. That's why geo-targeting works. It feels personal and people react to that. Go on to the next slide. Why use geo-targeting? Okay, so think about how you respond when you see a post about your hometown or your state. You pause, right? You pay attention. I was scrolling on Facebook one night, and I live in North Carolina, and the post said, find out who has the best barbecue in North Carolina. And one thing we take very serious in North Carolina is our barbecue. We are constantly arguing about who has the best barbecue, the eastern part of the state or the western part of the state. So I immediately clicked on the promo just because I wanted to see if my favorite barbecue restaurant, oh, somebody said Texas in the chat. But I wanted to see if my favorite barbecue restaurants in North Carolina, that's right, Ashley, definitely Eastern North Carolina barbecue, right? If it popped up on the feed, and it did, one of my favorite restaurants. And so they totally got, I fell into the clickbait. I clicked on it. I wanted to see if my restaurant was in there. So it is easier for a lot of restaurants to lure you in, the best restaurants in your city or things like that. But you're able to use geo-targeting just as and be just as effective. So you want to think about relevance. You want to tailor messages to your local audiences, the efficiency. You want to reach the right people, and you want to reduce that wasted ad spend because how you're spending your money matters. So you want to really make sure that you're able to zero in on your people. Geo targeting helps our content feel that way for other people. It cuts down on wasted energy, and it helps us to reach the people who actually need the message. And then it's also localized content, and it feels personable and relatable. And it's a way to help you mobilize communities with regional call to actions. And if you're trying to do some type of legislative push or local events, that's always fun to know. So that's why it's important for us to be able to use geo targeting. We'll go to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about how geo targeting helps you. So this is where it becomes practical. Okay, so again, I'm in North Carolina, and let's say I was hosting an event in Charlotte, North Carolina. Should I bother the people that live in Tennessee? No, probably not, because it's not in their area. So if we're promoting a local rally or an event, or we're trying to drive petition signatures in a key state, or share region specific policy updates. Oh, that's a tongue twister. It is very important for you to make sure that you're targeting the right people. So if if you're promoting a policy that only affects people in Louisiana, people in California may not need that update. If you're trying to get signatures from a certain state, just target that state. And so it also helps you when you're thinking about your metrics and your conversion rates on your call to action. It helps you to be able to measure what locations are really engaged. And, you want to know exactly where your messages are landing, so that way you know how effective you are. All right, so we'll keep moving on here. Let's talk about our best practices. All right, so first here, you want to use clear local language and references. Again, I'm from North Carolina and we like to say y'all. So, it could be that you're putting y'all in an ad to try to be able to really capture people. Or if you want to be specific to, again, a certain area. The example that I used here, Atlanta leaders are expanding childcare access so every family can thrive. You're specifically calling out Atlanta. So you're mentioning that city. So it's going to get their attention if they live there. Using visual location cues or landmarks or state icons. If you're posting a photo of the city skyline or you're using a state shaped graphic like I have here on this slide, people know what their state looks like. So it's going to get their attention. If you're using a skyline for a certain city, or even a sports team color, that's something that can help get more visibility for you. Um, Testing and optimizing performance by your region. If you are thinking about this is a really cool idea, running two different ad versions. So, for example, if we're doing a campaign on family leave, for one ad, if you use a picture of a family, and you have their photo there, you're probably going to be a little more likely to get more clicks on it than just using a national stat. You can always see which performs better, but I always say pictures perform because people want to look at pictures and not like numbers or letters. So go back to that last slide for me if you don't mind. Yeah, perfect. Okay. And also, tracking what works and adjusting it over time. So, if you're seeing that photos are doing good for you, you might want to kick it up a notch and do a video if photos are doing so well. And also, we're working on an upcoming campaign, and we decided that we're going to use kids' voices in the voiceovers to really get that attention. So, testing out an adult voice versus a child's voice might make a difference if you're talking about, family leave, especially if you're doing the campaign from a child's point of view, if you want to be really effective. Y'all don't steal my idea now. All right. So, aligning content with local priorities or events. Another example, join us this weekend at the Baton Rouge Health Fair to learn how walkable communities keep kids active. So, this is great because somebody may not have even known that Baton Rouge was having a health fair. Or this could be, something for someone to do that weekend and get them out the house. So, um, these are all attention grabbers. And then you want to check and see what's going on locally. It could be a certain event or holiday or a festival, anything that you can tie your message into. And then you also want to be very mindful of, you want to keep privacy and sensitivity into mind. So, we want to uplift communities and we don't want to single them out in a negative way. So instead of targeting a low income neighborhood, you could possibly target families that are interested in healthy community events, because we don't want to make anyone feel bad there. So just some things to keep in mind. Okay, we can go on to the next slide. All right, common mistakes to avoid when geo-targeting. So this is funny. I don't know if you all have seen the commercial. I don't know what company it's for, but it's like want to get away, and there's a big rock concert happening, and the artist stepped on stage, and he's like, "We love you, Dallas," but he's in like New York or somewhere, and everybody starts booing him. Have y'all seen that commercial? Yeah, that's one of my favorite commercials because I thought about that immediately when I thought about geo targeting. I was at a concert last weekend, and the artist came out on stage, and I was like, God, I hope they get my city right and they don't scream out the wrong city. So, you want to make sure you get it right. You don't want to scream out the wrong city and like have risk no one clicking on your campaign or going to your website. So common mistakes to avoid here. Let's talk about that. Over targeting. So, if you have a too narrow audience, targeting only one city or one zip code when the message is relevant to a broader region. So, you want to think about that when you are creating your campaign. You don't want to make your audience so tiny that nobody sees it. So think about that. Ignoring cultural or regional nuances, posting about early childhood programs in a primarily Spanish speaking community without translating content. So you want to think about that. If it's a Spanish speaking community, you might not want to put, certain race on the flyer, or you might want to make sure you're getting it translated. So, you want to make sure that your content always reflects your campaign. Your content needs to reflect your campaign. So, be aware of those cultural differences there. And then lastly, you and I have made this mistake. You cannot forget to update your campaign location settings. So if you did an amazing campaign in one city, it's not going to be amazing in the next city if you are still targeting the city that you just left. So, you want to think about that. Think about that rock star on stage shouting out the wrong city. So you want to make sure that you are putting in the correct information whenever you are going in to update your campaign and start a new campaign. All right, so we will keep it rolling here. All right, when not to use geo-targeting. All right, so like I said before, broad awareness campaigns. When the goal is to reach a national audience with general information, example, sharing a new early childhood policy brief or report that applies to all states. So, really think about what you're putting out here. You know, if your message is for the whole country or not, or just for a certain region. Next thing, limited team capacity for segmentation. Now, this is a big one here too. When you're doing geo targeting, it requires extra time, extra resources for creating localized content. And sometimes that means extra staff. So if your team doesn't have time to create multiple versions of a post, geo targeting might not be what you want to do at this time. If they can't manage or you can't manage multiple versions of a post, just stick to a single and clear message for now. And then it's always good to think about what you have coming up in the future. So if you need to batch content or, plan ahead, you're able to do that and it not affect your manpower hours there. Universal messaging. Again, messages that are relevant to everyone, regardless of the location. So if that's what you have, geo-targeting might not be for you. If it's tips on infant nutrition for general early childhood development advice, if it's content that applies to everyone, like general parenting tips or health info, you might not want to, segment your message there. You might want to keep it more broad. And then early message testing. So, before you know which messages resonate, you might want to test them, on a more broad scale than by region. So, same thing I mentioned before, if you have two versions of a campaign, maybe one with the family, maybe one without, maybe one with the video, maybe one without, maybe one with the voiceover, maybe one without, just really thinking about what you're putting out there and being able to kind of test it to see what works best. Even if you have a new idea, just to see how people will respond overall. And think about geo-targeting like this. It's a tool. It's not something that you need to use every single time. I think about I don't know if y'all have seen the Saturday Night Live episode, More Cowbell. You don't need more cowbell. You don't need it. Just like go with what you have. We'll use that for now. You don't have to do geo-targeting every time. So, um, so yeah. But we'll go on to the next slide there. You don't always have to use geo-targeting. Okay. All right. So it's time to get some practice. Are y'all ready? All right. Find your pencil, marker, something to write with, crayon, whatever. We are going to get a little practice in. So, we are going to do a short post for a local event. I want everyone to write a general caption, step one. Step two, we are going to localize it for a specific state. It can be the state that you live in, but we want to make it feel like it belongs to a certain place. And then we are going to decide on your creative. Your creative could be a photo or a graphic, or if it's a video that you're thinking about might play. And then we want to finally add a call to action to it. And that's what's really going to push people to your website. What action do you want them to take? Do you want them to contact their senator? Do you want them to sign something? What is it that you want your viewer to do? So we are going to take 5 minutes, and we're going to play some more fun music and give you a second to kind of brainstorm and think about this. And then we're going to have a couple volunteers to tell us what they came up with. All right. Okay, we'll give you one more minute and then we'll go through some of these.
No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't none bring me down. Your love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, take now, bring me
Who
down.
wants to go first? Go over this one more time. So you were asked to write a general caption, localize it for a specific state, decide on your creative, and add a call to action. And then we'll talk about what makes it feel local. All right. Does anybody want to come off mute and go and tell us what they got?
I could go.
Okay.
So, caption for the draft. It's a question. Are you in the Metro Detroit, located in the Metro Detroit area and looking for community resources? Question mark. So obviously this is targeting the state of Michigan, specifically the uh, greater Detroit area. And the photo is just a simple photo of a community event, maybe with some graphic design on there, obviously branded. And the call to action I have is discover services, something along that line. Discover services that are available to you.
Okay. All right. And what makes that feel local to you?
I think that it calls out the localized area.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the geo-targeting settings would reflect that, and a community event photo specific to the area, reflecting the common demographics in that area. A family photo.
Okay. I love that idea. And especially the family photo too. That's great. We got something in the chat here from Holly. I'm going to read this out. Um, so her general caption was, "Don't lose your grocery money, Kentucky." I love that. Very like popping, eye catching there. Because everybody's thinking about how much groceries are now. And then there are changes to what you have to report to continue to receive your SNAP benefit in 117 Kentucky counties. And then she says, "I like to do a short video for this TikTok style." I love that. And the call to action would be to check your Connect Online account for info about your SNAP benefits. Great. That's a really good one there. I see Tara had her hand raised.
Yeah, I have a kind of a real life one for a story we're working on now. Um, and so this is a story that could go national, but if we ever wanted to target a specific audience, we could write something like, "You don't need a mountain trail to celebrate National Take a Hike Day. See how Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge Parish are using complete streets to make urban hikes safer, more connected, and accessible for everyone. Read the story to learn more."
Love that. That's great. Let's see here. Jennifer.
Okay, so this is I'm gonna sell it as I'm doing it. What is that called when you're tagging yourself as you're doing it? So we have a grant, a maternal grant in Oklahoma. Is transforming maternal health, and it would be to the southeast side of the state, and it would have a picture of like Uncle Sam, but it would be like Aunt Sammy or Auntie Sammy with a baby, and it would say, "We need you because we really need doulas in Oklahoma. Well, we need doulas all over the United States, but we are establishing ourselves with the doula community. So it's been really hard for us, and um, so we're hand holding and doing everything possible. So if you think that this is your calling, please reach out to us because we want to get you educated and get you helping with our maternal care." That was just off the top of my head. I didn't
I
really have
love
anything
that.
written down.
I can close my eyes and see that one. So
I
yeah,
like
that
I like it. Thank you.
yeah. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to the chat here. Let's see here. Okay, time is running out. Be sure to register for Iowa's largest early childhood education professional development conference. Connect and learn with educators across the state of Iowa. Register today to see who in your area is attending. I love that because we all want to know who all gonna be there. So that's a great way to really find out, get people connected and want to know who's going and all that. I love that. All right, Danielle, I see your hands raised. You want to come off mute, Danielle?
This is Danielle Preston with
Okay.
Early Learning Coalition of Northwest Florida. I had an idea about like trying to promote social emotional learning. Like you could have a angry child on a billboard or something, or I guess on whatever. Um, and then like something about like like the graphic of the angry child or the parents frustrated or something, and then try to connect that somehow for in Northwest Florida and try to promote more developmental screenings because we have a program to help me grow. I guess that would be the call. I don't,
No, I love that. Yeah, because
something about screenings or connect that to screenings. Not sure.
yeah, I like that. It sounds like a very eye-catching image. So
Yeah, because
yeah.
like everyone's always trying to discipline their child. You know, you see like on TikTok all those about discipline.
Oh yeah, that too. I click on all of those. I have a 2-year-old, so yeah. Anybody else? Feel like we got some good ideas out there. Let's hear what you got. All right. Connie, let's see here. Okay. All families benefit from MS sales taxes, exemption on diapers and wipes, a picture of a family with a new baby. Contact your local legislators and let them know you support this legislation. I love that because we hate running out of wipes. All right. Alyssa, hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. To market an upcoming parent led advocacy webinar training. Are you looking for ways to get involved in local policy? The Nebraska Unicriminal is unique in that it is the only one house legislative system in the United States. As Nebraska constituents, we have the ability and responsibility to be involved in local policy and the legislative process as the second house. Join us on January 13th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. and learn about the NE and how to be involved. Creative would use either a picture of our parent ambassadors at the Capitol. I love that photo. Or a video of our parent ambassadors talking about their experience learning about it. Okay. This is great. Yeah, I love that, especially the picture of the Capitol here. And then I also loved how you called out Nebraska, and then you put the date and time up there as well. So you got all of the what, where, why, when there. All right, and then hey cowboy. Are you ready to wrangle the flu? Oh, I see like a rope going around a germ. Can y'all see that, right? The state of Texas, creative, a cartoon bull wearing a cowboy hat and a big band-aid. I love this. These are great. Call to action. Give details so the reader is invited to a flu shot clinic. I love that. Local details, county jargon, cowboy wrangle, and the creative cartoon. We can go to print with that today. Like, that is amazing. Yes. All right. Anybody else have anyone they're burning to just let us know about? I feel like they're getting better and better. Like, all right. Last call for campaigns. Anybody else got anything? Okay. All right. One from Alejandra. Advocacy workshop for early childhood advocates. Join us with our partners, the Wilmington Early Care and Education Council, WECEC, for an engaging evening of advocacy. Enjoy dinner, door prizes, and raffle items as we elevate our collective voices for change. Register here. I love that you're calling off dinner. Like, you're gonna have some people at dinner because they're gonna show up because they want to eat too and get door prizes. Let's see here. Oh yeah, we do need to know. Yes, it's Wilmington, Delaware, or Wilmington, North Carolina. But I will say this, if you are running the ad and you've already specified in North Carolina, then they would know. Same thing with Delaware as well. So depending on where you're running it, the locals would know you Delaware. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, these have all been really good. Like, super excited about this. And I know there'll probably even be more coming here. So we can go on to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about resources. So, all right, so today we just kind of gave like a basic overview of, geo-targeting, what it is, how to use it, really general information. But if you are looking, like if you're ready to kind of dive in and get your hands dirty with geo-targeting, for back end setup and campaign implementation, you can refer to the following resources, which I have here. And we will have a handout that gets sent out to you, emailed out as well from this presentation today. There's one for Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google as well. So, and it actually will kind of walk you through a step-by-step guide on how to schedule your campaigns and implement geo-targeting with them. All right, and we will go to the next slide. All right, for Q&A. I also want to mention that for NCIT, we have social media office hours. We do them on Mondays and Wednesdays. So if you are interested, please contact me. Just reply and we will get in touch with you to get you scheduled for that. If you need a little more assistance or have more questions about all things social, I'm really excited because, like I mentioned, this is the first session in a series of different topics that we will be covering over the next year. We're rolling it out and starting it now for next year. So we'll be talking about all types of things, engagement and, the best days of the week to post and things like that. So super excited. But we are going to open up the floor for question and answer. If you have any questions. Yeah, so as far as like what type of assistance, so there's a question that popped up in the chat here, what type of assistance will you provide? So, if you have an organization or one of our partners and you are thinking about rolling out a campaign in the coming future, we can kind of have like a strategy session to kind of talk about what that looks like on social media. If you are using the right platform, if most of your demographic lives on Facebook, but you're trying to do a TikTok campaign, that might not be the best thing for you. So we'll kind of talk through that to make sure that you're getting the most of your money that you might be, or most of your time or efforts to see if what you're doing is the best for your organization. So it's just kind of really tailored to you. It's like It's like a social media therapy session. Can come lay on the couch and we can talk about what you're working on. Oh, I will drop my email. Andre, could you drop my email in the chat, please, if you don't mind? Yes, thank you. And that way, if you want to schedule some time, we can do that as well. Any other questions? Thank you. That's my email. Anybody got any questions about any of the info that we've gone over today? Okay, here we go. What social media platform have you found to be the most active in digital organizing call to action? Facebook for sure. That's I would say Facebook and TikTok, but more so Facebook. Okay. Danielle, did you have a question? I saw your hand went up.
I did. Thank you. And great training. Thank you so much. So when you have your what is that called when you're shopping or you thinking about buying something and you may search on Google and then all of a sudden you get ads all over, your social media. Is that the same thing as geo-targeting? You know how have you ever had that to happen? Like I'll search for something on Google and then all of a sudden everything I see on Facebook is what I ad for what I was looking for. Is that the
Yeah.
same thing or is that a little different?
It's they're in the same family, but it is a little different though because it's not necessarily based on your location. But
Okay.
when you download an app on your phone, it will say you'll get a little pop-up that say allow us to share your information with other apps. Or so if you click yes on that, you know, depending on what you're looking at or where you're going, it is sharing your information from one site maybe to another site.
Oh, okay.
So, like for example, my DoorDash app may talk to my Gmail app and let
Right.
them know like I haven't ordered for them in a long time, and tell me something that has no delivery charge on it or something like that. So they're kind of the same family, but it's not necessarily geo targeted to you.
Okay.
A good example I can use of that again, when we're talking about airports and getting places. Last year I went to the Dominican Republic for my birthday. As soon as I got off the plane, Verizon sent a message to my phone that says, "Would you like to purchase an international data plan?" And I'm just like, how does it know I'm not, at home? And yes, I want to purchase it because I don't want my phone bill to be $1 million. So, but the geo targeting knew like, okay, her phone is no longer in North Carolina. Her phone is no longer in the United States. So we need to send this to her to see if she wants to purchase this international data plan. And they got me because I purchased it.
Part
uh,
two to the question. It do seem like that if I do search for something on Google, that I get local stores. I do get like my local Kroger. I may have been searching, you know, on
yeah.
but then I'll get my local Kroger. That's why I was thinking maybe it was geo targeting. But thanks for explaining that to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. And you are when you're logged into your Gmail or your Google account, it's pulling your zip code as well. So all of that information that you put in up front, it's taking all of that info and pitching different things to you based on that. Let's see here. Another question. Let's see here. I was thinking of trying a geo-targeting for grocery stores so we can push healthy recipes. Would that work? That would work. That would work. That's a great idea. Like when you are walking into a grocery store, if somebody opens up their phone, and is scrolling, oh, let me get on TikTok to find that recipe that I saved the other night. That could pop up. So that's a great idea there. Let's see here. Would that be too narrow a targeting parameter? Would you do that with a geofence? So again, that is probably one of those questions that one of the resources could help you with because, you know, I'm looking at things where you're targeting like a whole city or a state. So when you get into, like they said, when you get into like we're gonna target you know, this we're going to target this small section here, shopping center. I think that is where geofencing comes into play. But I don't want to steer you wrong there. So definitely look at the resource for that. And then another question here. You said that you don't want to have too narrow a geographic focus, but if all of your work occurs within a 14 county area, is it beneficial to do geotargeting for a certain city or county within your largest service area? I would think the county. I would focus on the whole county. If you're looking at work that occurs within a 14 county area. And then two, if all of the counties are positioned maybe like on the eastern part of the state or western part of the state, you probably can look at that as well as an option. And each of the platforms have different permissions as it relates to targeting. So something that you can do on Facebook, you might not be able to target the same on Instagram or TikTok. So I'm sorry, on because Meta is Facebook and Instagram, but you might not be able to target it the same on TikTok. So that's definitely something to look at the resource guide for. No problem, Stephanie.